The winner of American Idol 2002 is Kelly Clarkson.
Remember that? Ryan Seacrest announcing Kelly Clarkson as the very first winner of American Idol 22 years ago this week. Some 23 million people watched that finale of the cultural phenomenon that made stars of both Clarkson and Seacrest. In the 2 decades since America met him on Idol, Seacrest has worked nonstop to become a full-fledged media titan in the mold of his professional hero, Dick Clark. Next week, Seacrest begins a new adventure. As host and executive producer of the iconic nightly game show Wheel of Fortune, taking over from Pat Sajak, who held the job for 41 years. Ryan and I got together in New York last fall for a Sunday sit-down to talk about his latest high-profile gig and much more. For 4 decades, Pat Sajak was a nightly companion in America's living rooms.
Now that sound means time is running short, so I'm going to ask you to give it a final spin for us.
Listen to the sound of this wheel, right? Iconic. I find it soothing.
Now, Ryan Seacrest is taking the wheel.
Well, this is it, Ryan. What do you think?
Impressive, Pat. Pat Sajak is an icon in this business, and he's made it so comfortable for everybody to watch it. I'm like a kid, so excited about just seeing the set.
So do you have any plans yet, what your version of the show will be?
My version will be the version that is. The game works. All you want to do is walk in and say, good evening, grab your devices, and here's the first puzzle.
How important is it to you that Vanna be back for your version of the show?
I think it's extremely important. I am a huge Vanna White fan. When I signed on, I called her and said, I very much look forward to being on that set with you.
And also probably nice for the new guy to have somebody who's been there a while.
Yeah, who I could say, how does this work?
Exactly.
Where do we go now? What's next? Okay, got it.
And just a little look to her probably centers you a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
Well, she can definitely. Vanna, please tell me what to do.
I can't wait to get to work.
Oh, let's get you ready for ball.
Seacrest has been training for this moment since he first hit the airwaves at just 16 years old. What was your rap back then, Ryan? Would I recognize it
Radio
as...
Ryan reaching the beaches and rocking the docks, everybody. Let's go. You're on the air. Caller. It was like I was over the top. I was one of those, guys that thought you had to talk like this all the time to make everybody, listen and get your attention like that.
Well, it is a Ryan's Roses program.
Today, the Radio Hall of Famer needs no introduction.
You probably know the backstory, but Timberland, Nelly Furtado, and Justin Timberlake, they've all gotten back together.
I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to sit near one of these. I always wanted to be on the air. And I think the fact that I get to do it, I'm grateful, but I'm always afraid it might not be there.
Broadcasting is how Seacrest has connected since he was a kid, growing up just outside of Atlanta. I think you were mowing lawns to raise money at Radio Shack.
I mean, it was very strange to even my parents, I think, at the time, and my friends who also mowed lawns, but they would spend their money at the arcade at the mall. I wanted to go to the mall in Radio Shack and buy a mixer, a tiny one of these things.
At 10?
At 10. And I was pretending to be Casey Kasem, counting them down from coast to coast. In Atlanta, where I grew up, the biggest stars were the DJs. And so I was just fascinated by that world. I remember being so excited to audition to be the guy that does the morning announcements and the Pledge of Allegiance at school. And I thought, gosh, is there a way to do this for a living?
The story goes you get a radio show at 16 years old on an actual FM radio station in Atlanta.
I was an unofficial intern, and then I learned to run the board. A couple years later, there was a night where the tape that I was supposed to run of the DJ broke, and I signed on the air and said the call letters, and that was it. And I looked up to Casey and Rick Dees and Larry King and Regis.
And the wild thing is, almost everyone you just listed, you filled their shoes in a job.
I can't even believe it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I have no formal training.
Seacrest attended the University of Georgia, but he was a young man in a hurry, and at 19, he left for Hollywood. he booked hosting gigs before landing the one that would change his life.
Take a look at this.
On a new show called American Idol.
I love the story that you go into audition for Idol as a judge.
Yeah, they're talking to me about being a judge.
But then it was, how do you feel about hosting live TV? And you confidently said, oh, of course.
I got it. I figured I'll learn by doing. It was unscripted, it was loose. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen every night. The imperfections were the beauty of it.
Seacrest out. Good night.
Are you aware that Seacrest out is still a thing people say?
Yeah, because now they go, Seacrest in. If I come into a restaurant, Seacrest in.
Where'd that come from?
One of the nights, there was some more things for me to say, but I couldn't get it in time before the show was going to end. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It just went, Seacrest out! Before we got cut off by the local news. And I think it stuck.
Nice to see you.
Seacrest has been everywhere ever since. On red carpets, on morning television, in Times Square on New Year's Eve, and even behind the scenes as executive producer of the Kardashians reality franchise.
3, 2, 1. And we're on.
He also has been busy giving back, opening Seacrest Studios in children's hospitals across the country. At this one, inside of New York's Cohen Children's Medical Center, kids get the opportunity to step into Seacrest's shoes.
I wanted to do something that made an impact, but also was tangible. So I came up with the idea to develop these state-of-the-art media centers, content centers, broadcast studios that become the heartbeat of these hospitals. And the idea is to create that energy and destination for patients and families to totally escape, if they can, just for a few minutes, what they're going through.
It has to be so gratifying to say, all right, I'm here. What do I do? What do I give back?
You know, the kids that are in these children's hospitals miss birthdays, kids miss proms, and we want to create a place where they can continue to celebrate that, make friends, and connect, and that's what these studios do.
Wow. Seacrest turns 50 later this year, with no plans of slowing down.
Your morning hack this morning, before 7 o'clock.
He's too busy living his teenage dream.
It's everything I always wanted. The pace actually fuels my energy. If I were to do one thing once a week, I'd be terrible.
Ryan's big debut on Wheel of Fortune is next Monday, September 9th. We wish him the best of luck and many happy spins of that wheel. Our thanks again to iHeartRadio Studios in New York, Ryan's home away from home, for hosting our conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Sit-Down podcast to hear the full extended interview with Ryan Seacrest. You can find our conversation on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get yours.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.